Hello, my friends. How's everybody doing today? It's September 11th, 2025, 3:10 a.m., p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I just wanted to hop on here real quick and see what y'all are up to, share some of what's on my mind. So as usual, I'll wait a few minutes for people to arrive in the stream. Hope you're all doing well today. It was written. Thanks for being here. He says, yo, back to you. There's a lot going on in the world. Let's talk a little bit about that. Once again, though, let's wait for some more folks to show up. It was written, said live at 6:09 or 3:09 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Ken Harrison just watching videos. What type of videos are you watching right now, Ken? Obviously you're here, so what were you tuning into? Seek to find. It's hot here today. I don't recall where you're from, Seek to find. Shout out in the stream where you're at. It was written 369. Very, very powerful numbers. Those of you familiar with Nikola Tesla know about the 369. Vincent Garcia, hey, back to you. Ken Harrison, all about Charlie. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that in this stream. It was written, says Alchemist. Vincent Garcia says, from sunny Phoenix, Arizona. I'm assuming you're probably close to the hundreds Fahrenheit today in Arizona. We've got some hot weather coming our way next week. Seek to Find says, hi from Alberta, Canada. Patiently Happy? I like that name. I worked at a restaurant, and when Muslim customers came to eat, okay, I got to proofread some of these comments before I repeat them out loud, apparently. I don't understand how some of these people show up to these streams. Lorraine Drayton said hi. Hello to you, Lorraine. All right. Corey Woodrow, Kirk reaped. Oh, goodness. What are you guys doing on this channel? What are you guys doing here? I know what you're doing here. You need some guidance. That's why you're here. Not all of you. I'm talking to the ones putting out those low vibrational comments here on the stream. It was written, here comes the bots, LOL. And yes, not all bots are just a program. A lot of them are CIA. Sasa says, good evening from Amsterdam, Netherlands. Good evening to you, Sasa. Rachel, hello from Colorado, she says. Hello back to you. All right. So today, it's a day that has permeated each and every American citizen's consciousness now for 24 years. It's a day that we look back on and we grieve for those who lost their life. We grieve for what happened to our country at that time, September 11th. We had a major event take place yesterday. I'm sure all of you guys are aware. The Charlie Kirk incident. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. Helma G says, show some love and pray for our country. Absolutely. So let's start out with what happened yesterday. I didn't actually hear about it till later in the day. And shocking it was. You know, when events like this take place, and I know many of you are aware of this, it's never just one person being targeted. There's many different aspects at play when an event like that takes place. There's many different objectives that are trying to be played out in a way that affects the overall consciousness of society. You know, my first instinct when I saw the news, and unfortunately saw the footage as well, because it was rather gruesome, was that more than likely it was a staged event. Just being honest, that was my intuition. But what I did is I took that to my star family and asked them for some guidance as to what was happening, what actually occurred. And what I had received was that it was an actual, real event. And that Charlie, like so many of us, was a star seed that came here on a mission. And he fulfilled his mission all the way up until the point of his untimely death. Which was also part of his mission. Now, a lot of folks who are not in tune, they don't fully realize that we never die. We are a soul in a human body having a human experience. But don't take my word for it. Look at the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of near-death experiences that are reported. People that passed on and saw the other side, a glimpse of it, had an experience. The earth is like a classroom, and each one of us, as we walk through this life, we're going to have many challenges in our way. We're going to have many growth opportunities. And when it's all said and done, and you leave this realm, there will be a review of your life. And this review is not to judge you, to condemn you, but rather to look at everything that you accomplished throughout your life, how you grew spiritually as a spiritual being. Did you do enough to ascend to the next level? Or are there more lessons that you must experience in order to achieve a higher state of awareness and consciousness? Nothing that happens in this realm, on this earth, happens without a reason behind it. A lot of folks question God, question the goodness of God when events happen, whether it's to the collective or to the individual who's thinking negatively about the Lord, about God. They say, how could God be so judgmental? How could God be so cruel? How could God allow things like this to happen to innocent people? Like I said, this is not the end of the road. This is not the end of the line. This experience that you're having here on earth is just a very small part of the big picture. In regards to Charlie Kirk, his soul was set free from this realm after having completed his mission. And the real victims here are his children, his wife, his family, the collective consciousness of society, everybody who unfortunately viewed this tragic event, which is being plastered everywhere you look. So hopefully we can grow from this as a collective. Hopefully we can grow from this experience. There's something each and every one of us can take away from it. I, for one, am looking forward to living in a world of peace, happiness, togetherness, abundance, joy, health. And I'm going to continue to focus my intention on manifesting that reality. And when things like assassinations or big events like 9/11, which are both terrorist events, come about, recognize the attack is truly on the consciousness of the collective. It's about creating a polarization, helping to fuel the flame of the infighting of humanity any way they can. These groups that are behind a lot of these larger events that you see that are very well planned out, they have an objective far outside just affecting one person. Their objective is to create division, create a low vibrational frequency. And now with the internet interconnecting all of us, it's hard to escape this information. When a big event happens, it's plastered everywhere. It takes over the entire narrative. All over the internet, all over the news. So I tend to tune out after a large event. I don't need all of this information constantly flowing my way. Instead, I'll sit with the feeling I'm having for a moment and pray into God. Ask for guidance. Nothing can stop the ascension of Gaia and the inhabitants of this planet. Nothing can stop that. The evil negative side of this dualistic world that we live in has been backed into a corner. And they're acting like an animal who's been backed into a corner. But what we can all do right now is do our best to make sure that we don't allow events, information, to bring down our vibrational frequency. This is a time to step up to the plate and show how strong you really are, how much you've learned throughout this life, and apply that knowledge. I'm going to read some comments here. Chicken Texas says, hello, I'm late. Oh, you're not late. We just got started. Thanks for being here. Sending love and light to you, brother. Thank you, my friend. Patriot 14, I pray often and try to live the best I can. That is a great approach. Lovecat says, rejoice always, pray continually, gratitude in all circumstances. It's good to see you, Lovecat. I haven't seen a comment from you in a long time. I appreciate you being here. Lovecat is a fellow gardener. I believe she's got a YouTube channel still. You guys should go check her out. So yes, now that we've kind of touched on my overall thoughts and opinions about what we're experiencing right now as a collective, let's lighten up the mood. Let's not do what they all want us to do and just focus on negative all day, every minute of this day. No. There's much to be thankful for, my friends. And a lot of good can come out of tragedy. Patriot 14 says, help others. I love to make bread and take it to the widows by me. Patriot 14, do you have a YouTube channel? If you do, I'd like to check out how you're making your bread. Love Cat says, I moved off grid in North Arizona and started a new channel. I recall seeing something last time I had viewed your channel. It's been a while where that move was happening. And yes, as I do recall, the videos kind of dropped off, so I'll have to look into what you're up to again. Patriot 14, I love the elderly people. As do I, my friend. There's so much wisdom we can glean off individuals who have lived through and experienced many more years of life than we have. And as we move forward into this beautiful golden age, this future that's right here, right now, you're going to start seeing individuals living much longer than just 70, 80 years, but more like 100, 200 years. And imagine all of the knowledge that can be accumulated through that time and shared with the younger generation. It's an element that has been missing in our human experience for quite some time, and that's all changing now. Meme says, I feel the awakening happening in the world. Honestly, I feel hopeful for the future. That's good. That means that you're tapping in to the higher truth and not allowing yourself to get sucked in to the daily nuances, tragedies, and traumas. Lovecat says, thanks so much for recognizing me. That really means a lot to me. I appreciate you. Oh, no problem, Lovecat. The first video I saw of yours, you were doing something pretty cool. You were planting a little garden, cleaning up an area in your neighborhood that was overgrown and unattended. So it had weeds and grass and things, and you were clearing that out and planting some food crops. That was really cool. Thank you for being here as well. Robert England, what do you think of AI Atlas? We can talk about that as well. I have already touched on that in a previous live, but we can talk more about that if you'd like. Patriot 14, I did hospice care in homes for over 30 years. I spoke with a man that went from horse and buggy dates to the rocket age. He was awesome. Thank you, Dan. I love your videos. Thank you, Patriot 14. And keep the comments coming. These are the type of comments I love to read. And I feel the same as you. I have actually had visions myself of perhaps creating a beautiful, large-scale, permaculture-based retirement facility. Something with amazing food, animals, lots of sunshine, plants. Things that really, I think of some of the elderly, and they're in these small care homes, in these retirement facilities, and just how much of a drag that must be, where you could have such a better experience towards the end of your life. And I feel like as a collective, we'll be able to make certain things happen and create these spaces. Because we're all going to get old one day, right? Lovecat says, God bless you, Patriot. God bless you too. Patriot 14, I have ZKM. That would be a wonderful project. I have ZKM. Is that Zims? But with the Nasara Jasara and these redemption centers, there will be an opportunity for you to present projects. Yeah, Patriot says, yes, Zim. There will be an opportunity for you to present your projects, and you will receive large amounts of funding. If your vibrational frequency is correct, and you have a plan that could help and better the rest of the world, or even your locale. Just do something positive in the world. You will be supported. And you're being supported right now. There's nothing to wait for. It really turns out that this is all actually happening right now. How do I know this? Because of the experiences that I'm having in my own life, which at times can feel lonely. As I share some of these experiences, I see what I'm up against in this world of consciousness. Everybody's at different levels. Everybody has different belief systems. And everybody is having their own experience. So all I can do is share with you my experience and tell you how I got there, if it interests you at all. It was written, I'm trying to wake up the world. I feel that the best way that you can have a positive impact on the world is to become your best self. Because once you're your best self, you can give your best to the world, and it's the ripple effect that comes from those good deeds, those good intentions, those good actions that have a ripple effect. So let us keep ourselves in a high state of consciousness, a high state of vibrational awareness. And just know, whenever these larger events take place, you can see the narrative forming. You can see how it overtakes all of the information. It just gets overwhelmed with this one event. And that's a big part of why they do what they do. Because if they can just put it in front of everybody and lower that vibrational frequency and harvest some of the loosh that comes off of individuals who are really feeling the pain and suffering from this, they somehow get off on that. But God sees all. And the heavenly host, who is with us now, sees all. Nothing is unseen. Nobody gets away with anything. Sassy chassis. I don't know what that says. Love Cat, totally agree. Right on. Well, I wish you were my neighbor, Love Cat. So I didn't really have something specific other than just to come on here really quick and tell you guys how I was feeling, and hopefully inspire you in some way to just turn off the TV, turn off the news, turn off all the noise for a little while, and just get recentered, refocused. That's the most powerful thing we can do as a collective right now. We need to all be aware of how these events come into play. The timing should be the biggest giveaway for folks. If there's something being revealed, for example, something big that is impacting and taking down the deep state, they will oftentimes create an event to try to take all the attention off of them and put it onto something else. And they have multiple reasons for this event. It's not just to take the attention off them, it's to bring down vibrational frequency, as I've said many times. Love Cat says, I'd probably enjoy northern Arizona skies, maybe visit one day. Yes, I've got some family there, and I have yet to go to Arizona. And I know there's some specific areas that are quite spiritually developed and communities forming out there. So it is of interest to me. Where I'm currently located, it can get lonely at times just because the general feeling, the general vibe that's out here, I don't want to say it's low, because it's not really low. It's just, it's kind of like that grind, that 9 to 5 grind. People are just focused on daily survival, living. but there's not a whole lot of awareness around me. Patriot 14 says, lost my husband to COVID-19 in 2021. That threw me for a loop, but doing much better. God has truly blessed and watched over me through the years. I know he's been with me many times. And I'm very sorry to hear that, Patriot 14. But I'm also happy to hear that you have found strength and that you have strengthened your connection to God. It's key. So how are you guys feeling today? What are your thoughts, if you have any, on the events of the day, of the week, and how are you handling all of the energies that are coming in to your experience at this time? I'd love to hear from you guys if you're willing to share. Keep the conversation going. Love Cat sending you some love there, Patriot 14. Robin England says, I'm overwhelmed. Well, that surprises me a bit, Robin. You've been here on the channel for quite some time, and you always seem like a positive-minded individual. Very supportive commenter on the channel. I appreciate it. I hope that you can do away with that overwhelmed feeling, and I don't know what's all happening in your life. A lot of things can cause that feeling. But I do hope for you that you're able to overcome that and find peace right now. Right now. The now is all you have. And that's not a limiting statement. That's actually a big statement. It frees you from the past or from thinking too much about the future. Robin says, I'm just sad. I understand. Patriot 14, I'm in a loving, kind spirit, but pretty upset at this unnecessary hatred that needs to stop. I think the whole world could agree with you there. These events can make it look like we're so divided in the country, throughout the world, when in fact, there's a lot more togetherness than there is polarization. It's just that they emphasize the polarization. They want to keep continually putting into your psyche the division, because when we come together as one humanity, we can take everything back that they've ever stole from us in an instant. And what I mean by that is that they have taken so much away from our experience through greed, through ego, through a disconnect with God. But as you awaken and you begin to take your own power back, you can quickly start getting back everything that was ever taken from you. So you can have a great life and a great experience regardless of what you're going through, if you can begin to recognize these truths. But what we all want to see, I know you want to see it, I want to see it, is a rise in awareness and consciousness in the collective. I start my day every day with gratitude in my heart to God for another day of life. Everything after that is a cherry on top. But gratitude is one of the most powerful vibrations, powerful feelings that you can emanate. And oftentimes we tend to focus on what's not right in our lives, what's hurting us or what's making us feel down. But if you can shift your attention towards what you have to be grateful for, you're immediately taking charge of your vibrational frequency. And then you can build upon that throughout the rest of the day. Patriot 14, I want every child to have a safe and happy childhood. Absolutely. How do we get to that point, Patriot 14? Turtle Bean, me too. Meme says, started hitting the gym again this week and I feel good and focused on bettering myself. Working out really helps with everything. I will try to find things and I'm grateful for every day as well. You bring up a great point, Meme. Exercise, letting your yayas out, so to speak, in whatever form, whether it's hitting the gym, getting out on a long walk, going on a hike, working in your garden, riding your bike. All these things get the blood flowing. It helps to clear out stagnation. And it's that stagnant energy in the body that can really start to make you feel like you're not doing so well. So keep it moving, move it or lose it, they say. Respect the body, feed it good nutrition, feed it good food, get plenty of hydration, and move. Move that body. Dance around. Whatever you need to do. Get on the trampoline. Do some rebounding. Lovecat says, I admit I binged on channels like George Webb while gardening, and later it will be time to graze the sheep, which is a delightful activity. How many acres are you on there, Lovecat? Emil said hi. Hello to you, Emil. Patriot 14, believing and trusting in God humbles ourselves and realizing what helps others and ourselves. Absolutely. The ego is a tricky thing. And a lot of times what people are doing in their own life is usually guided by the ego. Now, the ego has a good reason for being there, but balance, overall balance, mentality is super important. Being aware of the ego. Turtle Bean, playing in the yard is fun and grounding. Patriot 14, it's not about money, it's about love. Lovecat, we have 40 acres. Wow. Surrounded by open range. Has 17 sheep, also rabbits, chickens, turkeys, cats, dogs. LOL. Wow, like animal sanctuary, it sounds like. Well, congratulations to you. That's amazing. Now, you went from a small residential, right, to large acreage like that. What has the transition been like? Were you able to just jump into the change and enjoy it from the gate, or has it been difficult? What are your overall thoughts, if you can just quickly summarize? How's it working out for you? Patriot 14, you need some cattle. Vadra says, what's up, my brother? What's up to you? Thank you for being here. This is the good vibe hour. That's what this is meant to be. Taking a break from all the noise, all the news, all the events of the day, of the week. We don't need to be constantly reminded of tragedy, of negativity. We can be aware of it, process it, and move on. Yes, we won't forget those who have lost their lives. We will continue to honor them. But the best way we can honor them is to stay strong and to continue moving in the right direction. I think, both of these events, both the Charlie Kirk and the 9/11, one of the main objectives was to try to instill fear into the populace. And I don't know about you guys, but I've said it many times, I have no fear. This changes nothing for me. It actually emboldens a lot of patriots and awakened ones to continue to grow stronger in their truth and to share their truth without fear. Because once you get over the fear of death, once you realize this is not the end, this is the beginning, then there's nothing that they could do to you anymore to try to keep you in that small space, low level of consciousness. Vajra, Jesus is the real God. By the way, I am an Indian Christian. TET says, hi again from Ireland. Hearing your voice is healing. Well, thank you. Need a wee break from the sci-fi for a bit. Robin England, I'm not one to back down. Nor am I, my friend. Lovecat says, yep, we sold our 3-bedroom shoebox in California. Live in a 5th-wheel tiny home style. I love it out here. The tiny town is super friendly. Stewardship of the land teaches me about God. Amazing. Living the dream, Lovecat. Keep going. Pamela G. Enjoying the garden and getting some fresh air. Prayer is our weapon. Sending love to all. Yes, I just got chills throughout my entire body reading that comment, Pamela. That was from your heart, I can tell, and it's true and it is powerful. So keep praying, everybody. You know, the most powerful prayer, in my opinion, is not necessarily to ask for specifics, but that's fine. But it's really to just ask that God's will be done on this earth as it is in heaven. Because when we say that prayer, we are putting all of our trust in God's bigger picture plan rather than our small ideas and wants and needs. And that's called faith. I pray for specifics as well, but I'm just saying, I think that that's the most powerful prayer that we could all be saying as a collective right now. Heavenly Father, may thy will be done on this earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Hallelujah and amen. Cheyenne says, I used to have a garden. Well, what happened, Cheyenne? Kevin Lee, our father. Correct. TT's, hi. Vajra. So, did some in-talking there. Lovecat says, I'm so fortunate to have my prayers answered. Very humbling to be entrusted with all this. You are definitely in tune. What is that? I think that was a squirrel. And that's what it is. Honestly, Lovecat, it's like you envisioned and you knew your goal. And you knew what you wanted to see manifest in your life. And you used your free will to make those things happen. And God and the universe conspired to make those things happen for you as well, because it saw your heart, it saw your intention. Kevin Lee says, rain gutter gardening. That's some old school stuff right there. I remember that. Who was that started the rain gutter gardening? I played with a lot of different gardening techniques along the way, along the journey. My favorite technique is to plant as many perennials as possible, get those roots deeply established, mulch the garden, and reap the abundance for decades to come. Patriot 14, when my kids were little, I gardened bottled frozen food from the garden. I also made most of their clothes until teenage years came around. Peer pressure. Yes, kids can be rather mean when they know that you're wearing homemade clothes and have a homemade haircut. Ask me how I know. Actually, Patriot 14, I had very, very humble beginnings. And I like to share bits and pieces of my life, growing up, so you guys get to know me a little bit better. But starting at about the age of 6, I was already out there on my bike every day collecting cans out of dumpsters. I was a little entrepreneur. And really, my goals were to just get a new bike, get some nice shoes for school, that sort of thing. But around that same time, that age, the underwear that I wore had my neighbor's name in it, Jason, and they were too small. They were hand-me-downs. Our family car was a Pinto in a station wagon. And those were some of the best years of my life. Patriot 14, I put coneflowers by my tomatoes to attract bees. Not many bees here. Where are all the birds now? So you're low on birds and bees? Well, you can put out more flowers, more colorful ornamentals. I'm not sure where you said you were at, Patriot. You're going to have to remind me, but you may be able to grow ceanothus, which is an ornamental shrub. It's also known as soap bush. You can use the blooms of the plant to actually wash up. And they have a certain variety called Jersey tea, I believe, which you can make tea out of it. But this is a great ornamental to add into a vegetable garden, for example, or a food forest design, because it blooms early and it brings those bees into your locale before everything else starts blooming. So those are the type of flowering plants and ornamentals that are good to add into a garden. Things that open up early. Lilacs are a good one to look into. But once your fruit trees and the rest of your plants start flowering, maybe you don't want as much competition with the ornamentals, right? So you got to think of it that way as well. If, let's say, your cucumbers are flowering and at the same time right next to it you've got this gorgeous ornamental bush with all these flowers, they might just go over there instead of your cucumbers. So choosing crops that flower at the right time to bring in the bees, bring in the birds, just prior to your vegetable crops, your edible crops blooming, that's a good technique. Sometimes you just have to experiment to see when things bloom in your garden and work from there. I've taken many plants out of my garden and replaced things and just keep on refining, fine-tuning the garden, trying to make it as self-sufficient as possible. Kevin Lee, I've been watching your channel for many, many years. Thank you for all the info and inspiration. Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate those kind words. Patriot 14's from Utah. Big time chemtrails. Are you seeing that on a daily basis, Patriot? And if so, how long has it been going on? Has the activity increased? I have some theories behind that I have shared. Maybe you're aware of them, but we can talk more about that if you'd like. Patriot 14, oh, thank you, Dan. Oh, my pleasure. Lovecat says, I want some lilacs. Yeah, well, ceanothus is known as the California lilac. I think that'd do well in Arizona. They handle the heat. They're drought tolerant. They do take a while to get well established, but after about 3 years, you'll have a nice looking crop. And you can grow them in containers as well, by the way. What do you do about your soil there, Lovecat? Was the soil good right off the bat when you moved to that location, or have you had to do a lot of amending and building of your soil, which is really just an endless process, right? Constantly trying to create the best soil. TET says, I had to move from my small bird box down at the bottom of the garden. I had to move my small bird box down the bottom of the garden because I discovered a beehive in it. Stuck my roller pole in it to carry it, LOL. Well, you missed a viral video opportunity potentially there. Whenever you do something like that, make sure you pull out the camera. But hopefully it was done. What did you do with the beehive? I'm curious. There's a lot of people now, small businesses, that you can call on and they'll come remove a beehive for you for free. And they'll get it in a bee box, start making honey and such with it. So might want to look into that if you ever have that situation again. Patriot 14, yes, daily, a lot at night. And he's referring again to the chemtrails. Now, Patriot, ask yourself, why would they be doing this at night? Now, chemtrails is different from cloud seeding, creating rain clouds and such. So why would they be covering up the sky at night? I can tell you in my experience, the last 4 nights have been some of the thickest covering you've ever seen. And I don't know how many of you saw my video that I posted last night. There was a little break in the clouds before they really rushed in. And an object appeared above my head, as bright as all get up. And this same thing has shown up several times, I want to say 4 or 5 times now. And every time it's shown up, it has flown directly right over my head, low and slow. There's no noise coming from it. Very interesting times, but what I'm saying is that a lot of the covering that's taking place now is not so much about weather manipulation as it is about hiding what's happening in the skies above, the heavens. Patriot Daily, yes, daily, a lot at night. And Joyce Eddy, hi everyone, sitting outside in the air, so dry. Where are you at, Joyce? Lovecat, I dig sunken beds, furrows, and deep mulch with sheep and rabbit litter. Floods irrigate by hand. We haul water in IBC totes. So you're getting the water from, where do you get the water from? Probably a well, I'm assuming. And then do you use some sort of a sump pump or something to get that water out of the IBC totes and water the garden? Just curious to know how you're doing it there on 40 acres. TETs, I set it away down in the garden as it was scary. So no bees were harmed in the removal of the beehive, you're saying, which is good, of course. And as long as we're on the subject of bees, I want to talk a little bit about wasps, and one in particular, the paper wasp, is one of the most valuable garden buddies you can have in your garden. And oftentimes a lot of individuals will think that they're actually seeing yellow jackets when they're paper wasps. And they don't look exactly the same, but one of the sure tell signs as you're dealing with a paper wasp is they are very relaxed. They don't tend to want to come up near your home or swarm around you, but you'll see them out in your garden, maybe getting a drink from the bird feeder or landing upon some of your plants. And the thing that they do for me, which is so powerful, is they go hunting for caterpillars. And they'll literally suck the juice right out of these caterpillars. And they go around. So when I see paper wasps in my garden, I'm very thankful. Never been stung by one. They're gentle. And they're doing a great service for the garden. And they're also creating cross-pollination as well. Kentucky. RC5, can you speak on peptides? RC5, TD500, and BPC157. RC5, and the health benefits of them. That is a topic that I am not well versed on. I am aware of the peptides market really taking off right now, and there's a lot of promising things happening within that space. It's well worth looking into, I'm sure, and I will be looking into that a little bit more. There's a lot that we can be doing right now to improve our overall health. I mean, there's a lot to do with stem cells, and it's just a shame that our current Western medical paradigm holds a lot of these healing modalities back from us and keeps us in this system of pharmaceuticals and treating dis-ease and medical issues rather than healing or curing or ridding symptoms completely. So RC5 says I should look into it. Well, if you know something about it, go ahead and post in the comments and share what you know. If you think it could help any of the folks watching this video. Patriot 14, so the paper wasps are pollinators. Well, anything that lands upon a flower and then travels to another flower is going to transfer some pollen. So yes, the paper wasps are pollinators, as are hummingbirds, butterflies. They're not doing the same amount of work or pollination as a bee does, but they're all having an effect. Even the wind, in many cases, can create cross-pollination. Which is why with crops like pomegranates or my pineapple guava, you can go around, you can dip your finger in the different flowers and cross-pollinate by hand. You can use a small little paintbrush to do that as well. So if you are seeing a lack of bees and birds in your garden, you might want to get involved. You are part of nature. You can get out there and do the work yourself if you want to try to see a heavier fruit set on your crops. So RC5, it's weird how non-FDA regulated things are becoming more used. And RC5 says, my coworkers swear by them. And Gainer, I have sweet bees, and they feel like electricity if they touch you. Hanky says, hi Dan, hope all is well. All is very well. Considering, as I started out this cast, everything happening in the world today, my experience has brought me to a point where I'm no longer heavily affected by the things that happen. I'm more of a big picture guy. I look at the big picture. I think there's a lot of healing and awakening that can come from some of these events. Lovecat, there are bulk water dispensaries in town, 1 cent a gallon, and use a transfer pump to move it off the trailer. Cool. Where do they get their water, I'm curious. We have some facilities like that around here as well. But I don't know how good the quality of the water is that people are picking up in these totes. I think they're mainly used for ornamental crops, not food crops. And Gayer, no sweet bees, which are attracted to human sweat, which doesn't make sense. TETs, I got a joke. I asked the shopkeeper, can I buy one of your bees? He said, we don't sell bees. And I said, well, you have one in the window. I like jokes. Patriot 14, I think the lack of birds are from the 5G towers. Well, I don't have any lack of birds here. Put out a couple bird feeders, keep a replenished bird bath on site. I guarantee you, you're going to have some birds show up. I have no problem with birds. I see videos where, people hanging CDs and streamers and things in their trees and doing all sorts of activities to try to keep birds out of their garden. The birds have never been an issue for me. Never. and I grow all sorts of berries and all sorts of fruit. The damage that they do is so minimal, like 1%. It's nothing. But I do keep bird feeders out, and I do keep a fresh bird bath that they get drinks out of, including my fish pond. They like to go there too. So if they're kept well hydrated, and even before I had the bird feeders out, they still weren't attacking my crops. So as long as they're well hydrated, they're less likely to peck into some of your water-rich crops and fruits and things. Lovecat says it's tap water. That's good enough for the garden. Alien, is there a heaven? Will I go? Is this a simulation? Your channel is amazing. Respect. That's a big topic. And I won't claim to act like I know all the answers. But I'll tell you what my experience has shown me. And I can share with you more on that topic. I'm going to continue to read some more comments here first. Lovecat birds get my sprouting seedlings because it's the only fresh greens for miles. Well, definitely when it comes to starting new crops, that can be an issue for sure. Nothing that a little bit of row cover can't resolve, as I'm sure you're aware of, Lovecat. Row cover is just a very lightweight, translucent fabric that won't weight down even the smallest of seedlings. And you can pin it over a garden plot with just a few bricks or rocks until your plants get big enough that they can handle a little bit of pecking from the wildlife. And it can be reused as well. Patriot 14. Many of my neighbors also speak about the lack of birds. Even our state bird, the seagull. Meme says, do you think we'll be visited by extraterrestrials soon? That we will be? We are being. We're being visited nonstop. And we do simplify this experience by calling them just simply ETs. It goes much deeper than that. Extraterrestrials, UAPs, UFOs. I've made some videos telling people we need to stop calling them UAPs and UFOs because they're not unidentified. They've been identified for a very long time. Ladybird, I want birds in my garden. So do my window cats. I bet. Pamela G, I grow echinacea and sunflowers, and the goldfinches will come to cheer you. You know, I haven't grown echinacea for a couple years now. I was growing an abundance of echinacea and love that plant. I used to use the roots heavily, making a tincture out of it, you know, just to boost immunity and help you get rid of a cold and such. But then I found something else that works unlike anything I've ever tried in my life. And it's called, well, there's two different versions. It's called MMS, Mineral Miracle Supplement. If you haven't heard of it, you may want to look into it. But the more updated protocol version is called CDS, or chlorine dioxide solution. And if ever I even get a tinge of achiness in my body, like I might be catching something, or a little roughness, soreness in my throat, I take a little bit of that CDS and it's gone in 10 minutes. I kid you not. And it's used for water purification, generally speaking. TETs, I have the same wee birds in my garden all the time. TET spaceships. Patriot 14, I've got plenty of echinacea seeds. Oh yeah. Just one flower head will give you like 100 seeds. Helena Troy talks, I just bought a small house this year and feel like Snow White. Birds nest on the porches and over the safety lights. LOL. Do you have one of those overhang porches, Helen? A nice porch with some rocking chairs on the porch. I wish I did. I just got a small little porch. But I'd love to have a large, big porch, with an awning or overhang, maybe a deck. Patriot 14. So just look up CDS. If you look up CDS, you're going to come across an Andreas, what's his name? Andreas Clapper or something like that. He is an amazing author and representative of what you could do with the CDS. Helen of Troy talks. Yes. Joyce Eddy, we do. So are you in the Midwest or are you in the southern part of the states, Helen? I once went to visit Louisiana. I was in the New Orleans area visiting family, and I was so attracted to all the different homes that were out there, the design. Joyce Eddy, we do. Patriot 14, seeds. Seeds of Agatha Velvet. Greetings. Thank you, Dan, for the variety of subjects you have posted over these years. Thank you very much for that comment, and I appreciate you. Helen of Troy talks. East Coast, Maryland. Oh, yes, Maryland. Quite beautiful. Sometimes if you don't want to be paying attention to everything else and you just want to visualize what you want to see manifest in your life, one of the things I like to do is watch some of these real estate tour channels. There's some good ones out there. And you just turn some of these playlists on that they have. And you'll have walking tours and landscape tours, Typically I'm looking at properties that have, 10 plus acres, larger homes. And it helps you to also identify what areas might be a good place for you to look to if you're looking to move or relocate at some point. TETs, I seen on a program once, they put seeds inside a dolmen. And after a certain time, they planted them and they grew massive. They put it inside of a dolmen. What is a dolmen? Helen of Troy talks, my house is a Cape Cod style. I like that style. I like the Victorian style. Ann Gaynor, thanks for the advice. Helen of Troy talks, I just did a live this morning about expecting miracles. Funny you mentioned manifesting. Oh, I'll check you out, Helen of Troy. That's down my alley. Absolutely, what you believe in, if you can't believe that something is possible in your life, then you've just solidified that truth. Because everything starts with a belief. Everything. And so when you are expecting miracles in your life, you're helping them to come about. If you think to yourself, nothing good ever happens to me, everything's against me, well, you're helping to create a cycle that you don't want to be in. So you got to put these things to the test. When you first start hearing about manifesting, the law of attraction, that sort of thing, it can sound a little out there. It can sound impossible. So how do you debunk it? Because throughout my life, that's really been the thing that I do. I try to debunk things nonstop. And through that process, you learn what's actually real, what can be debunked, what can't be debunked. And manifestation cannot be debunked, in my experience. It has come to fruition many, many times. Interestingly enough, you can learn some of these truths and still start to sway back into the old way of thinking as different vibration and noise keeps coming into your space. So that's where time and experience comes in, and you start to see the patterns of how things work in this false reality matrix aspect of the true love, the true light, the true experience of this life. Patriot 14, Dan, a while back, didn't you say to put sardines in water when planting tomatoes? I did that with some powdered eggshells. I planted 3 tomatoes, and they're huge bushes, and tomatoes galore. Yes, I absolutely did. Just looking for affordable, easy ways to share with you guys to get fertilizer going in your garden. Planting fish beneath crops is nothing new. Native Americans been doing it a long time. But a lot of times you can pick up cheap sardines at like the dollar store, and just putting a little can of sardines under your tomato plant, if you're putting it in a pot or if you're putting it in the ground, is enough to keep that plant going all the way through maturity. So it's a lot of value for the dollar. TETs, domain, big rocks, place looking like a table. And they say it was a grave, but I don't believe it. Found around Ireland. So the seeds were placed in this cave, you're saying. And after having been put in that cave or big rock formation, somehow did something special to the seeds, you think? Patriot 14, got the sardine at the Dollar Tree and saved my eggshells, grind them to powder. You know your stuff. Yep. You know, there's a lot of things that we can make fertilizer from that could cost you next to nothing. So there's no need to be spending lots of money on granulars and, bagged chemical-based fertilizers. There's nothing wrong with a lot of this stuff. When it comes to fertilization, a lot of us gardeners, at least at some point, some stick with it the whole time, we become purist. The fertilizer's got to be organic. It's got to be this, got to be that. And I look at fertilizer like I do vitamins, minerals, supplements, that we take. Not all of those supplements are going to be organic or are going to be non-synthetic. We still take, our vitamin D3s and our multivitamins and all these things, right? So I translate that knowledge over into the garden. I do very little fertilization in general. When you're early in your development, in your design of your garden, or if you're growing annuals, you're going to need a little bit more fertilization. But as you can see, this garden bed right behind me here, I haven't fertilized that all season. And the majority of the fertilization that did take place in that bed came from my worm bin and came from biochar that I had made and inoculated years ago. And it's thriving. And I'd love to bring you guys over there on the live and show you some of the produce, but every time I do that, the screen gets pixelated. It's not a good connection to the internet, so I got to save that for just a standard video. TET's domain, big rocks placed looking like a table, and they say it was a grave, but I don't believe it. Found around Ireland. Patriot 14, got the sardine. Oh wait, I already read those. Well guys, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. We've been live now for over an hour. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to encourage you to keep yourself in a positive state of vibration. Keep yourself distant from all the noise. When you start seeing the narrative shift and you see that the narratives are mostly coming at you or have a lower vibrational feeling, that could be a good time to just turn off the television, turn off the news, turn it all off. Get out in nature. Pray to God. Do whatever makes you happy. Exercise. You know, make a wonderful, delicious, healthy meal for you and your family. Find something that can bring you into that higher state of awareness, that higher state of vibration. The more of us that do that, we create a grid, we create a shift, it resonates, and it ripples throughout the universe. This is a fact, my friends. And this is why I'm passionate about continually sharing what it is I've learned throughout my journey in this life. And I just want to see more than ever everyone live their best life. I want to see togetherness. We all need to get past our egos. We all need to get past our opinions, respect each other, understand that everybody has their own experience in this life, which leads them to their set of opinions in the way that they view themselves. We need to have open dialogue, open debate, without getting overly offended, without thinking that everybody needs to think just like me or they're wrong. That type of thinking is like caveman mentality. As we ascend, this is going to come natural to more people. They're going to start to connect and understand, once they tap into this, that what they do comes back right back to them. We call it karma sometimes. But the energy that you put out into the world will come back to you. It's trying to teach you a lesson. So try to put out a vibration of love and understanding. And don't let the ego control you. Ask that God become bigger within you. You become smaller and God become bigger within you, because that light of God is within you. And so with that, my friends, thank you again for being here. Much love. Take care. Until next time. See you, Patriot 14.